वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 7, text 18. Udaraha sarve eva ete. Udaraha sarva evaite. Jnani tu atma eva me matam. ज्ञानीत्व आत्मैव मे मतम्। आस्थितः सः हि युक्त आत्मा। आस्थितः स हि युक्तात्मा माम् एव अनुत्तमां गतिं माम एवानुत्तमां गतिं। उदाराः सर्व एवैते ज्ञानी तु आत्मैव मे मतम्। आस्थितः स हि युक्तात्मा माम एवानुत्तमां गतिम्। उदाराः सर्व एवैते ज्ञानी तु आत्मैव मे मतम्। आस्थितः सः हि युक्तात्मा माम एवानुत्तमां गतिम्। उदाराः सर्व एवैते ज्ञानी तु आत्मैव मे मतम्। आस्थितः सः युक्तात्मा मामेव अनुत्तमां गतिम्।
उदाराः सर्व एवैते ज्ञानीत्वात्मैव मे मतम्। आस्थितः स हि युक्तात्मा मामेवानुत्तमां
गतिम्। उदाराः सर्व एवैते
ज्ञानित्व आत्मैव मे मतम्। आस्थितः सः हि युक्तात्मा
माम एवानुत्तमां गतिम्। ऑनलाइन उदाराः सर्व एवैते ज्ञानी त्व आत्मैव मे मतम्। आस्थितः स हि युक्तात्मा मामेवानुत्तमां गतिम्। Word to word meaning. Udaraha magnanimous. Sarve all. Eva certainly. Ete these. Jnani one who is in knowledge. 2. But Atma eva, just like myself. Me, mine. Matam, opinion. Asthitaha, situated. Saha, he. He, certainly. Yukta Atma, engaged in devotional service. Mam, unto me. Eva, certainly. Anuttamam, the highest goal. Gatim, destination. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls. But he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider verily to dwell in me. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he attains me. Translation with repetition. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls. But he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider verily to dwell in me. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he attains me. There is a call which is coming. Cancel. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. It is not that other devotees who are less complete in knowledge are not dear to the Lord. The Lord says that all are magnanimous because anyone who comes to the Lord for any purpose is called a Mahatma or great soul. The devotees who want some benefit out of devotional service are accepted by the Lord because there is an exchange of affection. Out of affection, they ask the Lord for some material benefit. And when they get it, they become so satisfied, they also advance in devotional service. But the devotee in full knowledge is considered to be very dear to the Lord because his only purpose is to serve the Supreme Lord with love and devotion. Such a devotee cannot live a second without contacting or serving the Supreme Lord. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is very fond of his devotee and cannot be separated from him. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 9.4.57, the Lord says, Aham bhakta paradhino hi asvantantara iva dvija sadhubhir grasta hridayo bhakter bhakta jana priyaha. The devotees are always in my heart, and I am always in the heart of the devotees. The devotee does not know anything beyond me, and I also cannot forget the devotee. There is a very intimate relationship between me and the pure devotees. Pure devotees in full knowledge are never out of spiritual touch, and therefore they are very much dear to me. Thus ends the Transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, we are in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, text number 18. So, as we see, the chapter is titled Knowledge of the Absolute. So, knowledge of the Absolute, so we all have different aspects of knowledge. So, knowledge of the material world, the knowledge of many relative things, but knowledge of the Absolute, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is only attained only by hearing from the Supreme Lord. And therefore, this chapter, as we see, begins by Lord instructing to Arjuna on the science of the Absolute or the knowledge of the Absolute. As we have been looking in the last few verses, Lord is describing 4 kinds of people who do not take to devotional service, who do not surrender unto Him. And there are 4 kinds of pious men who take to devotion. And as we saw, the 4 kinds of people who do not take to devotional service, who do not surrender unto the Supreme Lord, are described as Mudaha, who are grossly foolish, who are Naradhamaha, the lowest among mankind, Mayaya Aparita Jnana, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and Asuram Bhavam Ashritaha, who are openly atheistic in nature. So these are the 4 kinds of people which we saw in detail as how they do not take to devotional life. But then there are 4 kinds of people who are pious, and they approach to devotional service or they worship the Lord under certain conditions or under certain situations. So Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritino Arjuna artho jignasur artharthi gnani cha bhartarshava. So there are those who are artho, who are distressed, who are jignasur, who are inquisitive, who are artharthi, who are looking for some material gain, and gnani cha bhartarshava, or the one who is in knowledge, who knows things as they are. So there are these 4 kinds of people who are pious, and when they are distressed or they need wealth or they are inquisitive or they are searching after the knowledge of the Lord, they render some devotional service to the Supreme Lord. And in the previous verse, we saw that out of all this, the wise one who is in full knowledge, in union with me, through pure devotional service is the best. So there is Artho, Jignasur, Artharthi, and Gnani. Out of these 4 classes of men, the best is that one who is in knowledge of the Supreme Lord. And Lord is saying, for such a person, I am very dear to him and he is very dear to me. So this is the previous verse. Now there is further description. If Gnani is the best, so one may ask this question, so are the other 3 kinds of people not so good? How do we think about them? So Lord is clarifying now all the 4 kinds of people, how do they fit and where do, what Lord is thinking about all the other 3 categories of people. And Lord is saying here, Lord Krishna is saying here, Udaraha sarve evaite. So just because one who is in knowledge of the Supreme Lord is considered to be the best amongst those 4, it does not mean that the other 3 are to be neglected or to be discriminated or of no use. No, it is not the case. Just because something is considered to be best, it does not mean that everything else is bad. It can be also good, but there is something which is better than other things. So here, Lord is clarifying that Udaraha sarva evaite. So Lord is very clearly saying, all these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls. So Udaraha, so Lord is using a very special word, Udaraha. So magnanimous. So who is this person who is known as magnanimous? So magnanimous means he is very kindly disposable towards even those who are inferior. Sometimes people who are very, very rich, when they make some charity or they make donation or they give something to people who do not have something, they are called as magnanimous. So one of the qualities of the so-called good people is that they are magnanimous, they are broad-minded. And we see this word also appearing in different places in Bhagavatam also. At least one place we'll see a little further. But the point here is that Lord is categorizing all these four kinds of people who are pious in nature, who are rendering some devotional service. The Lord is categorizing all of them as magnanimous souls. Sometimes it is very possible that we have someone as our favorite, someone whom we like very much, so we consider them very, very close. And in that process of considering them very close, we tend to neglect others. So this is very naturally found in this material world. As soon as someone likes someone, someone is dear to someone, the others are naturally neglected in some way. But this is not the case with the Lord. Lord is saying here that they are all magnanimous, and in the purport, the very first line Prabhupada says, it is not that other devotees who are less complete in knowledge are not dear to the Lord. Everyone is dear to the Lord. This is very important principle. And one must make a note here that the Lord, who is actually the most magnanimous, actually only someone who is very magnanimous can say that someone else is magnanimous. And Lord must be so magnanimous that He is perfect. And despite the four kinds of people who are doing services under a certain state of life, under certain conditions of life, distress, need, but still Lord is considering them to be magnanimous souls. So this shows the great magnanimity of the Lord. The Lord is so kind. You have rendered little devotional service unto me, no problem. In this condition or that condition, you have rendered some devotional service, Lord is seeing that good aspect of the living entity. So this is the magnanimity of the Lord, that the Lord is considering anyone who is doing little devotional service also very magnanimous. But here it is said, tu means but. Although Lord is considering everyone to be magnanimous, and as Prabhupada says, even those who are not in complete knowledge, even they are dear to the Lord, but Gnani Atmeva me matam astitaha. So one who is situated in knowledge, that is the Gnani, here the Gnani is referring not just a speculator, but here the word Gnani is referring to that person who is in knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are different kinds of people who can be speculatively wonderful in their knowledge. But here it is not that kind of person is being described, but here the person who is in knowledge of me. And what is the Lord's opinion? I consider verily to dwell in me. So Gnani tu Atmeva me matam asthita sahi yuktatma. So one who is situated in knowledge of the Supreme Lord, Lord considers that person to dwell in him. And further, Lord is saying, Mam evanutamam gatim. So one who is engaged, yuktatma, one who is in knowledge of the Supreme Lord, and who is acting, engaged in devotional service, not simply in knowledge of the Lord, but also engaged in the service of the Lord. To such person, he attains the highest goal. And what is that highest goal? Lord here is saying, Mam evanutamam gatim, that the highest goal, the highest destination that he is going to achieve is that he is going to attain me. So in this small verse, the Lord is further enhancing the meanings of the last two verses and combining them to provide us an holistic understanding that all devotees, irrespective of whatever kind of devotional service they do to the Lord, they are all magnanimous. Lord considers them very dear, considers them to be dear. But one who is in knowledge of the Supreme Lord and who is engaged in devotional service, he is considered to dwell in him, and he attains the highest goal. So let us look at this purport and the verse a little more. The first point that I wanted to bring here, by Lord stating that these souls are magnanimous, what struck to me is that actually Lord is very, very magnanimous. Lord, being very kind, he is saying even the little good quality, as Sadananda Prabhu explains about Lord Jagannath, as how his eyes are wide open, because he is trying to see even there is a little good in any person. The Lord is making a note of that. Similarly here, the Lord is making a note of the four kinds of people. Even though they are doing some devotional service with a certain material fruitive activity or mentality, but still Lord is considered them to be magnanimous. And it is very important to note in the various qualities of the Lord Krishna, one of his quality is magnanimous, or magnanimity is one of his quality. And this is a very special quality of Lord Krishna, that he is actually very gentle and magnanimous. So, as we also see in the case of Bhrigu Muni, when he wanted to see who is the supreme, when he goes to Brahma, Shiva, and he offends them, he immediately gets punished, he immediately becomes chastised or chased by them. But when he comes and even offends the Lord Vishnu, he is very, very kind, he is very gentle, he is very magnanimous. So, similarly, there are various examples of Lord being very, very magnanimous. We also see the Lord, when in Krishna book, when we read the story of Kubja, the hunchback woman, when she gave a little bit of sandalwood pulp to the Lord, Lord was very, very pleased. Lord was so much pleased that he agreed to visit her. And just, it appeared like Lord was on the plea of sense gratification, he went there, but actually he was very, very kind to the service that was done by Kubja. And it is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita that even if one has any sort of desire, even a lusty desire, but if one goes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Personality of Godhead knows how to deal with that desire and still convert that into a purified desire. And that is what happens in the case of Kubja. The Lord goes there, but as soon as she is touched by the Lord, when she sees the Lord, she is all purified. So although the initial intention was something, but by coming in contact with the Lord can purify. But it is important that we allow that purification to happen and not act against as it is said, the example is given that the moonshine does not stop its rays to fall onto a house of a crooked man. Similarly, the rain does not stop itself. Oh, here is a bad man, here is a good man. Let the rain only fall in the farm of a person who is good. No, the rainfall is equal to everyone. The moonshine is equal to everyone. But only if an unfortunate man, he covers himself with something, or if he closes himself in a closed room, that he will not see sunshine or rain. But otherwise, these are available to everyone. Similarly, the Lord is also equal to everyone. And therefore, we can see Lord is very, very magnanimous. It is also said that irrespective of any kind of a person a living entity is, whether one is cheater, outcast, or even in fact any kind of living entity, the Lord is still present as Paramatma in all lives of the living entity in the material world. In any form of the living entity may exist, but still Lord does not discriminate anyone. Lord does not see, oh, this person is atheistic person, so I as Paramatma will not exist in this person's heart. If we find someone who is not very favorable for us, we immediately feel very discomfortable. We want to go away from that place. We are not so kind, oh, you are not kind to me, but I will be always kind to you. No. We immediately feel, I will go away from this place. You are not respecting me. You are not treating me well. Let me find a place where there is no offensive mentality towards me. But Lord here is so magnanimous that he is present as Paramatma and guiding the living entity in all spheres of life, in all kinds of life, in all species of life. So this is another aspect of the Lord, that he is always accompanying the living entity. He is always acting as the well-wisher of the living entity. This is another very important quality. The Lord is not only present in everyone's heart, but is also actually acting as the ultimate, the most beneficial benefactor. This is the glory of the Lord, that He is so kind, He is so magnanimous. And it is said that the Lord is present in everyone's heart, is acting as well-wisher, and therefore we can see, even if there is a fruity worker who has an intention to gain something in return, but still Lord, when he is approached by when he approaches the Lord awards him his desired results based upon what is appropriate, based upon their prescribed duties, based upon their the past karma. The Lord sanctions desires. So this is another quality. So Lord is not saying that, okay, only one who is a pure devotee of mine, I am going to reciprocate with him. No, Lord is reciprocating with everyone. And if it is yogis, the Lord is Hare Krishna. Yes. So, even if one is a mystic yogi, one is trying to endeavor yogic perfection, Lord is still kind to award him the yogic powers. Similarly, a jnani who want to merge, a jnani not one who is aware of the supreme personality of the Supreme Lord, Supreme Absolute Truth, but even if he is thinking of the Brahman effulgence, who is thinking the Supreme Truth to be Brahman, even for them, Lord is very kind to give them the liberation in Brahman. But here, as we see, that although Lord is very, very kind and He awards, He reciprocates with all living entities in all different forms, and based upon, as we see, ye yatha mam prapadyante tam satyeva bhajamyaham. So, ye yatha mam prapadyante. As one surrenders, so does the Lord reciprocate. So, it is when we see that there is some discrepancy, why someone is not getting something, why someone is getting something. We may have our understanding, but actually, if one is fully surrendered, the Lord also reciprocates fully. But if one's surrender is partial, then Lord also reciprocates accordingly. And it is very important just to sometimes, just like when we see, let's say someone is going to an hospital, and let's say the doctor says there has to be a surgery, a small surgery, not a big one, but a very quick one, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And the doctor may say, okay, you sit down for a few more minutes, I have to treat one more patient, and then immediately you are next. So as soon as he is told this thing, he is sitting outside and he is working with another patient inside. Now imagine the person who is sitting outside, he may be curious to see, what is happening inside, what is this doctor doing? So he may try to open the door slightly and see what is he doing, and maybe through a small hole he is seeing that the doctor is taking one knife, he is having some tissues or some napkins to prevent the blood flow, and is going closer to the person, and other people are holding the hands and legs of the person who is to be operated, a minor operation, and a small syringe they have just pressed so that there is small anesthesia. So the person who is watching from outside is thinking, what kind of a cruel doctor this person is. He is cutting him. The people are forcing him, holding him. So people may misunderstand that person is doing something bad. But actually it requires some knowledge to see what the doctor is trying to do here. Similarly, sometimes the people who are in distress, people who are in need of something, when they see, Lord has not given me something which I desired for. I asked the Lord that I should get this job, and I did not get this job. I ask the Lord that I should get this house, I should get this wife or this or that, something we all desire, and then we see, oh, Lord has not given me this. And then immediately we think, oh, maybe Lord is not very magnanimous, Lord is not very kind. But we actually do not know there is a bigger plan of the Lord. There is something which is good that the Lord has not sanctioned for me. There is a reason. But when one is only distressed, when one is in not knowledge of the Lord, when one is not having the knowledge of who is a doctor, what is his intention, why is he doing something, when we are not in knowledge, we construe something out of our own mental concoction as every activity based upon our understanding. But when we are in knowledge, then we see from the perspective of the Lord. Then we see with a higher vision that, oh, Lord is acting on a higher principle which I am not aware. Rather, my duty is to do what is being told by the doctor, by the Supreme Lord. And that is the best thing for me to do. Instead of me concocting and running away from the doctor or doing something else from the doctor, that will not help me. So, in that sense, the Gnani, one who is in knowledge of the Supreme Lord, he can be much more fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. Here, Gnani refers to one who is in knowledge of the Supreme Lord. The one who is in knowledge that the Lord is present as Paramatma, the living entity, and the Lord are eternal, transcendental, and whereas everything else is acting based upon modes of material nature. Each one has got different bodies based on different modes of material nature. So, not to be perplexed by these modes of material nature, but to be fixed in the knowledge of the Lord as Paramatma, the living entity as a spirit soul. And with that knowledge, when one engages in devotional service, one can remain fixed. One can see that there are circumstantial gains and circumstantial losses. But one sees that both are blessings of the Lord. The so-called gain is also the mercy of the Lord. The so-called loss is also the mercy of the Lord, because in both cases, Lord is trying to advance the living entity in his purification and helping him get to the highest destination. So that is one important point to note. And another important point to note is that the Lord as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most magnanimous. As Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami was instructed by this Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for about 10 days on the science of devotional service. And Rupa Goswami, as soon as he sees Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Allahabad, he immediately falls down and he offers prayers. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Goritushe Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya. Mahavadanyaya. So Vadanyaya is the word that is used in Chaitanya Charitamrita to tell Krishna, one of the qualities of Krishna is magnanimous. And Rupa Goswami is using the word Mahavadanyaya, most magnanimous. Even in today's lecture we were hearing, Srila Prabhupada says, why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most magnanimous? Prabhupada says that in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is explaining Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja. The highest principle, the conclusive understanding of Bhagavad Gita is only kept towards the end. Only in the last chapter, in the last but few verses, Lord Krishna is instructing what he should do. And until then, Lord is explaining the different stages and different classes of people, the fruitive work, the mental speculation, the yogic perfection. The Lord is taking Arjuna through all these arguments. And only in the end, Lord is actually telling that this is the conclusive understanding, that you must surrender unto me and you must render devotional service. You must always remember me, offer obeisances unto me, so you must worship me. This is only coming towards the end. Prabhupada says, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction begins from there. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is even not touching all those aspects. He is directly cutting it off, and directly he is connecting to Bhakti Yoga. And not only that, through the Bhakti Yoga process is the only process by which one can understand the most magnanimous Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving the love of Krishna. Just to understand Krishna is so difficult. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is trying to distribute the love of Krishna. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is considered to be the most magnanimous. Most magnanimous. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very easily giving us the highest perfection. As we all know, in this age of Kali Yuga, which is filled with so many difficulties, so many challenges. But simply by chanting and hearing the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This one simple process, simply by doing this, one can attain the highest goal of life, highest perfection of life, Prema Pumartho Mahan. The supreme love for Krishna is awakened in one's heart. Although this consciousness is dormant in every living entity, just to come to this highest perfection of having spontaneous love for Krishna is very, very difficult, because the purification that is required to happen through different austerities, charity, penances, or different yogic processes is so time consuming, is so difficult for people of the age of Kali Yuga to perform. And for that reason, Mahaprabhu has simplified this process. And not only Mahaprabhu has simplified, Mahaprabhu is also most magnanimous, for he taught by his own personal example. By his own personal example, he teaches how to render devotional service. Mahaprabhu is exemplary, for he teaches renunciation by his own practical example. He teaches by his own practical example how one should always constantly chant the names of the Lord Hari. He is also most magnanimous, for he constantly also heard the pastimes of Lord Krishna from Srimad Bhagavatam, from his devotees. In this way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally demonstrated how to conduct oneself as a devotee, how one should be a devotee in this age of Kali Yuga. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also personally traveled throughout India to demonstrate how one should distribute the holy name of Lord Krishna and depend always on Krishna. So this is a wonderful magnanimous qualities of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is most munificent. As we saw even in today's morning class, Sanatana Goswami says, Nicha Jati, I am born in a low family. My association is very lowly. I'm most fallen adhama. This is my state. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not consider any of these things. In fact, he is most merciful upon the most fallen. And he is glorified. The Acharya says, the great Acharyas, they sing that I am the most fallen in these three worlds. And if you don't save me, how can your name be Patita Pavana? How can your name be the most merciful? So how can it be said that you are the deliverer of the most fallen? And therefore the great Acharyas put themselves under this plea of that I am the most fallen, and therefore you have the duty. They say, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you have the duty to save us, because that is your promise, that you will deliver the most fallen. So wonderful is the great Acharyas who demonstrate how they should get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by truly sincerely feeling that they are the most lowest, although they are the most highest, but they show that so that we also develop that right attitude of how to receive Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. So in order to receive the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have to become humble, tolerant, and respectful, and constantly chant the holy name of the Lord. As soon as we do this, we immediately receive unlimited mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he is the most magnanimous. And here we can see, just for little devotional service, Lord Krishna is calling magnanimous. Similarly, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for little attentive chanting, he is also calling everyone very, very magnanimous. He is rewarding unlimitedly. Even with little the stage of Namabhas, one can be liberated. And what about one, it is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, who is actually serving the mission of the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sincerely. he is already liberated completely. So this opportunity that is given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be engaged in devotional service, and we can also see the magnanimity of Srila Prabhupada, that we are not only chanting, but we are chanting in a very, very comfortable situation. Srila Prabhupada has created so many temples. He is inspiring his devotees, his disciples to create temples all over the world, so that we do not have any difficulty even while chanting. We don't have to worry about sunlight, rain, or any other conditions of life. We can simply sit down, chant, take prasadam. Such wonderful arrangements are being made by Srila Prabhupada and his disciples. So this is all coming through the magnanimous mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada, and his disciples, devotees. So this is, we need to recognize this great magnanimity of the Lord, how kind the Lord is. And when we become in knowledge of the magnanimity of the Lord, we will become fixed in our devotional service. Oh, Lord is very merciful. I don't have to worry about anything. I need to do my service to the best of extent and depend on the Lord, because Lord will give more than what I deserve. Especially Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada, they are most munificent, most munificent. They award, they glorify the devotees. They just give some service to the devotees so that they can be glorified. They can do everything. Prabhupada says, the Acharya, they can complete everything. But just to glorify the devotees and the disciples, the Acharyas give some service to them. And through them, they want to glorify them. They want to give them an opportunity of service so that they can be glorified. And it is our great fortune if we just align ourselves sincerely in the service, to take the instructions, to hear the instructions of the spiritual master, and try to align ourselves completely as what they want. Because as we see, there is this another verse which says, Akama sarva kamo va mokshakam udaridi. So, tivrena bhakti yogena tate yajate purusha param. So even there you can see the word udaraha. So akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udaridi tivrena bhakti yogena yajate purusham param. So even here the word udaradi. So here we can see udaraha, the magnanimous. Here udaradi means the broad-minded, or whose intelligence is broad. So in any condition of life, akamaha, one who is free from all material desires, sarva kama, one who has got all material desires, or one who has desire for liberation. If they are little intelligent, tivrena bhakti yogena yajate purusham param. Whether one is having any of this kind of desire, one should still with all efforts try to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead for complete perfection, culminating in Krishna consciousness. So this is another assurance that is given in Srimad Bhagavatam, that it doesn't matter with what position you come from. If you somewhere or there in the devotional service, one will be purified. Somewhere or the other, we should render devotional service. And actually, the kind of devotional service that is being defined here, that is being asked from the persons, is to tivrena bhakti yogena. Tivra means with all intensity. Pure devotional service, not mixed devotional service. But in any case, in whatever position one starts, if one puts all his efforts, the process of bhakti yoga will also purify the living entity, because this process is so wonderful. But it's only one important point to note here is that one should work for the satisfaction of the spiritual master and the Supreme Lord. If even in devotional service, if one is taking one satisfaction in devotional service, then one is not actually gaining the most. The devotional service is now mixed with the fruitive mentality. Although it is better than not doing anything, but For example, sometimes people think, okay, I will do this devotional service so that I am satisfied. The goal of the devotional service is my satisfaction. If that is not available, I am dissatisfied. If people do not listen to what I want, then I am dissatisfied. But actually, the right way is to see, is the spiritual master satisfied? Is the Supreme Lord satisfied? Am I doing for their satisfaction? Am I listening to them as what they want me to do for their satisfaction? As we see Srila Prabhupada saying, if someone asks, the master asks, give me water, one cannot concoct and think that I'll give milk. Because milk is better, it has some more proteins. No. What is being asked, that needs to be done. But in order to do that, one must be very good at hearing. Hearing means to really know what is in the mind of the spiritual master, what is in the mind of the authorities, what is in the mind of the Lord. And by being attentive to what is that they want me to do as service, and aligning oneself to that, that is the beginning of devotional service. Because until then, there is a lot of concoction that is going on in the name of devotional service. There is so much that one is trying to please oneself or satisfy oneself to different degrees in the name of devotional service. But when it is purely aligned with the intent and goal of the spiritual master and Supreme Lord, there is unlimited flow of mercy. This is one of the qualities Srila Prabhupada's, the initial disciples, they were all aligned to just satisfy the spiritual master. If spiritual masters like this, they were all very eager to do that. And simply by doing that, there is a tremendous amount of empowerment, mercy, reciprocation of the Lord and the spiritual master, that all things become victorious. They all become success. All opulence comes. Everything that is required comes. The so-called difficult thing becomes so easy. But when that alignment is missing, even the so-called easy thing becomes very, very difficult. And as we see in the second half of the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying, who is very dear? So, the people who are in material motive tendency, out of affection, they may ask still because they're asking the Lord, Lord still fulfills them, and there is a reciprocation, and they may advance slowly. But there is always a chance that they may also fall down from the position of devotional service because it is not fulfilled, or because everything is fulfilled, now I'm relaxed, I don't need any support of the Lord, I can live on my own. But one who is in knowledge of the Lord is very dear to the Lord. Prabhupada says they are very dear to the Lord because the only purpose of a pure devotee is to serve the Supreme Lord with love and devotion. So Prabhupada is explaining in all these verses that we see in the last few verses, while the verses are talking about the devotees with a material motive or with a not of pure devotion, but Prabhupada is in all places contrasting them with pure devotion and pure devotees. This is very important because this is the magnanimity of Srila Prabhupada, that he wants to give pure devotional service of Krishna to the people of the world. And therefore, at every place, Prabhupada is adding another layer of understanding for all of us to understand what is that pure devotional service that should be the Param Gatim, that should be the Anuttamam Gatim. What is that highest goal which needs to be paid attention as we are hearing all the different instructions of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, Prabhupada is saying that devotee, one who is in knowledge of the Supreme Lord, cannot live a second without contacting or serving the Supreme Lord. So this is a wonderful quality of a pure devotee. He is 24 hours, every second is only thinking how to be in association with the Lord, how to render service to the Supreme Lord. This is a true Mahatma. Although Prabhupada in the previous verse, in the early section of the purport, is mentioning anyone who is approaching the Lord in any condition is a Mahatma, but actually true Mahatma is one who is living even without, cannot live even without a second without rendering devotional service to the Supreme Lord. And what happens because of this? Because of rendering constant devotional service. Prabhupada gives another example that even in the material world, if you want to come in good term or Prabhupada uses the term, if you really want to come in touch with the big person, you have to render some service. Without rendering service, you'll not be able to understand that person, because that person will not open up to you. If I simply go to President Biden, it is not that he will reveal anything to me. Only someone who is very close to him, very confidential, who lovingly serving him, to them he will be very, very open and express so many more things. Similarly, Prabhupada says, if actually one wants very, very dear to the Supreme Lord, if one wants to attract the attention of the Supreme Lord, one must render service. And that service of how to render service to the Supreme Lord, the Bhakti Yoga, is the process. There is no other process by which the unconquerable Lord can be conquered except by this devotional service. So devotional service means to satisfy the Lord. And how can one become dear to the Lord? We do not understand Lord, what is his interest, what is his intention. That we can understand through the mercy of a pure devotee of the Lord. As we see that Lord Shiva, while instructing to Parvati, he says that definitely worshipping Lord Vishnu is the highest, but even higher than that is to worship my pure devotees. So satisfying pure devotee to carry their orders, as we see Srila Prabhupada, Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekehe kurunandana. Prabhupada took this so seriously, the instruction of a spiritual master. And just to fulfill the desire of a spiritual master, he engaged completely. And that is very pleasing to the Supreme Lord. Similarly, when we sincerely try to please and glorify his pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, then Lord is very, very quickly pleased. He is much more pleased. And Prabhupada also says, Sakshat Haritvena Samasta Shastre. So the spiritual master is to be treated as good as God. Why? Because he is the most confidential, he is very dear, his most confidential servant. He is always engaged in glorifying the Lord. The pure devotee of the Lord, his only business is to see how how Lord is glorified, how Lord Krishna is glorified, how more and more people come to devotional service, how Lord is pleased by seeing more and more devotees taking to devotional service, because Lord also feels pain when he sees that his part and parcels are suffering unnecessarily, but the spiritual master is doing this thankless job of reforming this conditioned souls and connecting them back to the Supreme Lord. And for this reason, the Lord is very, very pleased with his pure devotee. And because the Lord is very pleased with his pure devotees, anyone who renders service and satisfies his pure devotee becomes very, very dear to the Supreme Lord. And we see here, Prabhupada is also quoting the Srimad Bhagavatam verse, Aham bhakta paradhino hi asvat antara hi iva dvija sadhubhir grasta hridayo bhakter bhakta jana priyaha. The devotees are always in my heart, and I am always in the heart of the devotees. The devotee does not know anything beyond me, and I also cannot forget the devotee. There is a very intimate relationship between me and the pure devotees. Pure devotees are in full knowledge, are never out of spiritual touch, and therefore they are very much dear to me. So this is the another great quality of the Lord, that Lord, he never forgets even little service done. He remembers even the little service done by anyone. And what to say of those devotees who are always engaged in the service and they do not know anything except rendering service to the Supreme Lord. So Lord is saying, those devotees are always in my heart. And for whom? For those devotees for whom in their heart there is always the Lord. So Lord reciprocates more than what we can think of. He's always anxious to do more to us than we can ever think of. But just this little amount of rendering service in any condition wherever we are, but if we render devotional service, and as we also saw in the previous verses, coming in touch with the pure devotee, the spiritual master is the must principle. Only when we start taking instructions from a spiritual master and following, it is that process, it is only through that process that one actually gets reformed and one receives the mercy of the pure devotee, and it is through that mercy that one can receive the mercy of Krishna. As we see, Krishna said Tomar. So Krishna is the property of pure devotees, and only they can deliver Krishna to us. So this process of devotional service under the guidance of pure devotees in the association of Vaishnava, Charya Vaishnava Seva Nistar Pai Keche. Okay. So without rendering service to the devotees, it is not possible to attain spiritual perfection. So we need to take the advantage of association of devotees and follow the principles of devotional life to satisfy the spiritual master in the Lord. And it is by that we can attain the highest goal, Mam Evanutamam Gatim. I'll stop here and see if there are any questions or comments.
You said that Lord is magnanimous, but many times we don't feel, because that's a nature. And Lord is reciprocating in our life daily, but we just tend to shun away from that. So how do we come out of that?
So, just like if we want to know something about a big person, we may know based upon what we know a little bit by seeing from outside, or some interaction that we may have. But the best way to know the magnanimity of the Lord is to hear from a pure devotee the activities of the Lord. The more we hear the activities of the Lord through the pure devotees, then we can better appreciate the magnanimity of the Lord. So that is one way, is to hear from pure devotees the magnanimity of the Lord constantly, so that we can see through the vision of a pure devotee. Because pure devotee is always seeing the magnanimity of the Lord, and therefore he is always seeing the hand of the Lord. And another thing is that we have to be very careful about offenses. One of the reasons is that sometimes we are not very conscious of smallest of small things that we do. So when we are more conscious of not to commit offenses, then the reciprocation and revelation are much more faster. So I think by constant hearing, and also by hearing from senior devotees who see the hand of the Lord always, and also in small acts that we see every day, just like we get prasadam, it is the mercy of the Lord, mercy of the pure devotees and the devotees who are cooking, that simply prasadam is coming to us. Similarly, the facilities that are there are also coming because of some devotees are working, the Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, they are guiding. So everything that we are getting actually is a reciprocation. To stay here, to get all the facilities. So we can actually become conscious to see that everything that we are getting, there is a hand of the Lord. And when we gradually start seeing in that way, then we will see, oh, without Lord, actually there is nothing, I cannot even, just like yesterday I had a small car accident. Maybe there could have been a big one, but the Lord has given small one. But still, in the sense, in every aspect, if we see carefully, there is Lord who is giving us so much. So by paying little more careful attention, we can see actually we are recipient of so much mercy, from simplest of our maintenance of life to having even a proper vision, to speak, to walk. Actually everything is the mercy of the Lord. So carefully paying attention, as we saw, perceiving the Lord in this world. Similarly, we can see slowly meditating every time we take prasadam, the mercy of the Lord. Every time we get anything, every small thing, if we see that the Lord is the one who is providing this, and I should be grateful for the Lord. And those could be some ways.
So Hare Krishna, Swami. So first of all, one more thing is like, Lord is magnanimous, but we should understand, like, we should have that qualification first. So without that qualification, Lord also cannot give, like, let's say if we want to get a college admission in a good university, we should work hard, do some, good kind of things actually, so that we will get that admission. If they give the admission like to everybody, it's not like magnanimous, right? So he is magnanimous to give, but we should be qualified to achieve that. And the best way is by karma. So we are governed by karma, right? So he created a system which is karma, and we are governed by that. So like right now we are lucky, like we know ISKCON, Swami Prabhupada, Venkateswara Swami. Like we are lucky and blessed actually. We don't know in our past lives what we are. So now we are clearing up ourselves to get his ultimate attention. So yeah, that's what I feel actually. I just wanted to provide this answer. So yeah, and also we should have yogyata also. We discussed earlier, like with Panduranga Das also. He told like we should propagate ISKCON to everybody, like about Swami Prabhupada message, but some are not ready to listen also. Some will say like, why are you telling me all this? They will try to fight you, or like, I know in 80s or 90s, even Swami Prabhupada, he got some hatred in US actually. Some people tried to ban ISKCON, so all these type are there actually. So when time comes, when the person has yogata, automatically, it will come there. So that's what I feel actually.
So in addition to karma, so karma is something that is past. So, but the idea of bhakti can take, the karma is the only aspect which is not eternal. By the mercy of the Lord, so just like in the case of so many demons that we see in Krishna book, or so many people that we see who come in contact with Krishna, even though they had a very sinful life, simply by coming in contact with the Lord, one become purified. Or by coming in contact with the bhakti yoga process, they become eligible. The process of eligibility is to render devotional service. And rendering devotional service means for the satisfaction of them. So for satisfaction, so having firm faith in Guru and Krishna. With that firm faith, when one is rendering devotional service, then all the intricacies of knowledge, everything is revealed in the heart. So, yes, yatha deve tatha guru, yasya deve para, yasya deve para, tatha guru, tasyeta katita hi artha prakashante hi mahatmanaha. So that having firm faith, so one of the thing is absolute faith in following the instructions. Then it is not our karma that is driving there. by rendering devotional service, it is their mercy. By their mercy, if they are pleased, okay, knowledge is just revealed, empowered. One is not qualified by karma, but one can be empowered by the mercy of the pure devotee. The karma can be, the Lord can take away the unwanted part or aspects of karma and empower with spiritual power. So that is the may I know your name here? Hare Krishna. If there are no questions or comments, we'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you for joining. Hare Krishna.